Hello, Hallmarkies, Ponders, maybe? Do we have a name? Homies? I don't know if The Way Home has a fan base name yet, but hello, friends. I am not Rachel Wagner, film critic, Rotten Tomatoes, all the things. I'm not Rachel. I'm sorry, but I am Kaycee Simpson from Deliver Me a Podcast taking over tonight and
Woo!
have Ann with me.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, yeah, and we're going to be talking about season two, episode 6 and 7 of The Way Home. So before we dive in, I'm just going to read the synopsis really quickly, and then we will jump in the pond. All right, so episode 6 is emotions are running high for the Landry women as Kat works to conjure up a rescue while Alice sees Dell through a wave of grief as old wounds are opened. And then episode 7 is the Landry women learn things aren't always as they seem as each uncovers new past and present truths. Elliott questions how much of Kat's heart is in 1814. So there was a lot here these last 2 weeks, I would say.
Yeah, these are big episodes. Yeah, especially last night's or seven.
Yes. Yes, episode 7. That was there was a lot going on there, but how are you feeling about season 2 so far? We've got what, 4 more episodes left?
Or I think, yeah, maybe even less than that. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's, season ones are always a lot of times the best because it's all exciting and new and everything. But I'm enjoying season two. I really like the 1814 storylines and that we're finally like getting more answers about Jacob, like finally.
Mhm.
So that feels good that we've actually like seen Kat see him and like talk to him and sing to him. He's actually like been found at least.
Mhm.
So yeah, and yeah, I've already told people I'm so over Kat and Elliot this season. I just can't. They're driving me insane. So I'm so happy to see Alice find a new love interest and to see Kat find maybe a new love interest. So I'm definitely for that movement of that, yeah, away from, at least for now, well, not Alice, but Kat for now, away from Elliot to maybe somebody else because Elliot needs to grow up. So, my opinion. But yeah. What do you think about this season?
Yeah, I agree with you. Season 1, it was just fresh, exciting, it's new. I love a good time travel show. I mean, I love Back to the Future. I love Timeless. I really
Yeah.
loved season 1 of The Way Home. Season 2, it does feel a little more chaotic, and I think it's just because of the added timeline of 1814.
Yeah.
So you're juggling 1814, you're juggling present day, and then you're also juggling the past. So it just all feels a little much at times, but I'm still enjoying the show. And, I know they're still trying to get their footing. And time travel is just really hard to do in a series because you have to stay within the box of your decided timelines. And so
Yeah.
that's where it gets a little tricky. So I will be interested to see what happens if they get a season 3.
Mhm.
I found that season 3s are usually the ones that are either make it or break it. And usually the season 3s that are solid, it's like, okay, they've got it, they figured it out, and it's like even better. And so,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so far I am really enjoying this. I have feelings about Kat and Elliot. They're complicated, just like their relationship. I feel bad for both of them because they just aren't on the same page. They don't communicate, and I felt like this last year or last season they jumped into that relationship a little too quickly, in my opinion, and
Yeah.
now we're backtracking a lot, and so it just feels like it's a disservice. And I feel like we could have played up the whole Cat and Elliot push and pull, not a couple yet,
Oh yeah.
for this season to have made a little more sense because he like dipped out and then he came back and then they made out and then they're fighting. And
Yeah.
so,
Every episode.
yeah. But I will say this episode, they seem to be a little more, at least in these last two episodes, they seem to be a
Mhm.
little more calmed down. Like
Yeah,
Elliot
that's true.
has been a
Yeah,
bit
they
more.
didn't like have a fight. They both, yeah, were trying to, you could tell they were both trying to like be calm and like, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, those are my initial thoughts about season two so far, but looking forward to seeing where it takes us, and I never know with this show, which is the great
Yeah, that's, yeah. I mean, like at the end of the episode, I'm always like, oh my gosh, I really want to know what's gonna happen.
thing. Hmm.
Especially this episode. So,
Yeah.
especially seven, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to know right now.
I know. So I guess let's talk about the meat and potatoes of everything. Really, it's Kat. Everything's circling around Kat in these last two episodes. She goes back in episode six to 1814, and she does conjure up that rescue to find Jacob, rescue him, and all of that. So I really, really enjoyed Kat's storyline. I really loved how the White Witch came into play. I loved how she was so smart in realizing that she and Susanna looked very similar, so they were able
Mhm.
to dress up alike, and they
Yeah.
were able to trick oh gosh, what's his name? It's
Cyrus.
Cyrus, yes, thank you. Cyrus into thinking there were ghosts and all the things. And so I just really enjoyed that. And I also love the fact that she was finally able to have like 2 seconds with Jacob, even though he was.
Yes, yes, yes. I was so glad about that. And yeah, I just think the 1814, I don't know, they're doing it really well. It's really interesting. And yeah, I was glad that she finally got to see him, even though like he was, in pain and kind of, delirious. And I was glad she got to be, by his side. And yeah, it was a tricky plan.
Mhm.
But yeah, they were able to pull it off.
They really were. Very smartly too. And I love the cinematography of everything. You could see him stumbling because he was so out of it and all
Hmm.
of that. It was just so well shot. And I feel like that storyline was definitely very much thought out for sure.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
definitely. And I loved seeing, like you said, the White Witch, come into play. Since we'd seen that so long ago,
Mhm.
it was interesting to see it come into play here. Yeah.
Yes.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind the scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Well, there is another character in 1814 that makes everybody go, and that's our friend Thomas.
Mhm.
Thomas. What are you feeling about Thomas? How's that going for you?
So, okay, initially, like last episode, everyone heard me say, I don't know how I feel about this, but they definitely have a vibe between the two of them. Like there was definite vibe even from like
Mhm.
the first meeting. And I was like, I don't really know how I feel about it, but I'm just so over Elliot. Like the most over him that somebody could be without hating him. That's my level. I can't take him complaining about anything anymore. I'm like, dude, go do something that doesn't involve Cat and like do something else. I wish they would show him do something else so we can know he has a life because I'm
Mhm.
so tired of like him just like it just seems like his life revolves around Cat and he's just mad about everything all the time. And I'm just like, go, yeah, do something else. So I'm over him. So I definitely think that Thomas is very interesting because he's not like a good person, but I don't think he's super bad. He's kind of like this, bad boy that's not super bad,
Mhm.
because he does things that you're not supposed to do, things that are illegal. But I don't know. I'm kind of into this, bad boy vibe for Cat for right now. Just because I mean, I people always know I'm really obsessed with people having chemistry. They have
Mhm.
chemistry, and so I'm really into that until he shows me that he does something, that hurts Cat.
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm not gonna like that.
Right.
But so far, he was helping her and trying to protect her, when things were happening. And there's definitely a vibe, so I'm into it for now. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm very intrigued. I'm super intrigued. I'm pretty sure he's the one that painted my Catherine,
Yes, I think so.
which also gets my brain spinning because I'm like, okay, he painted it in the past, and then it's in Lingamore, and then it shows up, and then it's like my brain keeps circling with all of this stuff. So I'm
Mhm.
like, how involved do they get? Because obviously they get, I mean, assuming they get into some kind of relationship if he has, he paints her,
Yeah,
unless,
that's a pretty intimate thing to do. You don't just paint
Mhm.
anybody.
Yeah, unless I guess the other thought would be there is that she breaks his heart because she's from 2024 or
Mm,
whatever, and he paints
yeah,
her because of the memory of her. So,
that's true. That's
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, it'll be
that could
really
be.
interesting. Um, I do like the fact that he has become somewhat of an ally to Kat. I like that we are getting to peel back the layers a bit more with
Mhm,
him because we learn that he really does care for Jacob, or so he says.
mhm.
Um, and I don't know, it'll just be interesting to see where his character goes from here.
I agree. It's just something very, he's just kind of like one of those like mysterious people. And so I'm just very intrigued to just learn more, about him.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And see the push and pull between he and Kat. Now that's the push and pull that I would have liked to see more with Kat and
Yeah.
Elliot.
They definitely should have. Like, I remember when they got together so quick, I was like, what's happening? I'm like, this is supposed to be a slow burn, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is a flame out. This is just gonna flame out, and
Mhm.
it flamed out.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, 1814 here for all of it. I think the next thing with 1814 is just Kat's relationship with Jacob. So
Yeah.
Kat and Jacob have been separated for what, like 20 plus years or so, over 20
Hmm.
years. And what she remembers of her brother is not who she sees or what she's hearing about him.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's really hard to do. And um, I don't know about you, but I remember I moved when I was 11. I moved states. Lived in Connecticut. We moved to Florida.
Oh,
I had
wow.
very fond memories of my childhood in Connecticut. I was 11 years old when we moved. And so then several years later, when we went back to visit, my brain was stuck in 2001. Everybody else, like I had not moved on from some of these relationships because that's
Mhm.
how I left them. That's how I remembered all of my friends and, family members and stuff. But obviously, like I was the one that left, and so everybody else moved on. My brain did not move on necessarily. So it's kind
Yeah.
of a weird thing if you've never experienced it. And so I think equivalent to Kat, now she's opened this thing, this whole Pandora's box of Jacob. She only remembers him and sees him as that little 10-year-old kid,
Yeah.
whereas he has moved on, obviously, because he had to move on and build a life and all the
Grow
things,
up and
grow up. And so I think that's going to be a really hard pill to swallow for Kat once Jacob gets better and once we see their relationship. So what do you think about their relationship? How do you think that's going to go, and where do you think it's going to head?
I'm really interested because, like, in a preview, he says, like, why didn't you come for me sooner? It's like, well, it kind of took some time to stumble upon a magical pond. I wasn't just going to, like, time travel wasn't my first, instinct. It's not like we didn't try to, find you in a regular sense,
Mhm,
it's like, and so it's like there's going to be so many emotions because it's like he's going to feel shocked and disappointed, I guess, that she didn't come sooner. But then she's also kind of just doesn't know how to feel that he's grown up and not who she thought he would become. And
mhm,
he's a man. And, she just assumes that she's going to take him back to the present. He's lived
mhm,
here his whole life. This is like what he knows, basically. Like, who said he wants to go anywhere?
mhm.
So there's gonna be like all of these emotions and tension, I feel like, after, like, they've talked, she's gonna be like, well, let's go home. And he might be like, well, I don't want to go home. What do you mean? Like, this is my home. So
Or,
I think it's really interesting. I think it could go a lot of ways.
mhm,
So I'm really interested to see kind of how they develop their relationship and,
mhm,
how it goes.
right, right. Or, what if Jacob couldn't go home? What if the pond never let him go home?
Yeah,
You
that's true.
know?
Yeah, that could happen. Or
That
he
could
could try to go home and then he goes to 1999, or, I don't know, some
yeah.
other time. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this too. Because there's a couple of things here with Jacob going to 1814 in the first place. So, one, he could have accidentally stumbled into the pond, which is what we kind of presumed. But then I had another thought because of all those photographs, and he was that kid in the woods with his camera and his buddy and the dog and whatever. But I wonder if he watched Alice disappear into the pond. I mean, if you think about it, as a kid, if I were a 10-year-old little boy, I'd be like, well, that's cool. This girl goes in the pond and then she comes back,
Mm.
and he's a very I would
Gosh.
say he's very observant. And so he probably observed that some things like, okay, Alice is acting like she acts like she already knows some things. I mean, I know he's a kid, but kids are perceptive. And so
They are much
I,
more than we think. Yeah.
uh-huh, yeah. So I wonder if he
Hmm.
kind of thought, hey, I wonder if I could do that too.
Yeah, that would be crazy. And then Alice would feel really bad. And it's already they had this whole Colton thing, that
Yeah.
it's hard to understand. Like, did you cause it? Did you not cause it? It was gonna happen no matter what, this
Mhm.
whole thing. But yeah, that would be crazy if, like, they show a flashback where he sees Alice jump in there and she doesn't come up, and then he's like, you know,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that idea sparked because of all the photos that he would take.
Mm.
Photos
Hmm.
of the pond and stuff. So,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there was a lot of photos, the
mhm.
pond, and it seems weird that you would take that many photos just because, and
Yeah.
not because you were, like, wondering or just interested in it because you saw something that was unbelievable. I mean,
Right.
so yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's dive into the present. Let's talk a little bit about Dell. Um, Dell, I I was beginning to wonder if she knew about the pond, and now I'm kind of thinking she doesn't really know, maybe because of her fights with Kat. Um, what do you think about Dell in all of this?
I feel like she doesn't know anything about it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I think. But I also just feel like, yeah, I just don't like the stuff they're giving her this season, which they're not really giving her her a lot.
They're not giving her a lot. They're giving
And
her
I'm like,
romance.
I mean, yeah, it's like, they show her sometimes, talking to a couple of her friends, and then she has this weird storyline with Sam now. And it's just kind of like, I don't know. I don't really like what they're giving her. I mean, I don't know what I would give her, but that's why I'm not a writer. But yeah, I don't really like what they're doing with her. I just feel like they could use her so much more, and they're just not really using
Mhm.
her. They're like trying to just come up with stuff for her to do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't think she knows anything.
Mhm.
So I'm really wondering how she's gonna react when she finds
Mhm.
out.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a shame because Andy McDowell is wonderful in what she
Yeah, she is.
does. It's just that this season she doesn't seem to have a purpose yet.
Yeah,
There's the back and forth about the farm. Are we selling? Are we keeping? But I mean, that's not a whole lot for a
yeah.
character to develop off of. We do
Hmm.
have that romance with Sam, which I mean, that's fine and all, but again, it's just a little odd. I don't know. Um yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with her, but I feel like her time is coming. I feel like she's just like in the dugout waiting to be put in, and then all of a sudden something's gonna happen, and then we're gonna be like, "Put me in, coach," and so
I
there she
hope
goes.
so. I mean,
So
in episode 6, I mean, that was very, I mean, that was just hard to watch, how she reacted to the call, and they showed the past, the calls, and just how it affected the family and Kat
yes.
and Belle especially. And I mean, that was, I guess, something that they kind of revealed to us, or just showed us, what it was like to be her,
Mhm.
with this son who has still not been found,
Mhm.
in her perspective,
Yeah.
that she knows nothing about. So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Oof.
Mhm.
I just was like, that would just be so bad to just, it just
Mhm.
keeps dragging on and on for so long, and you just
Right.
can't, you know,
Right.
close it.
Yeah.
Hey, this is David from the Piecing It Together podcast, a podcast about movies and the movies that inspire them. For over 4 years, each week, a guest and I take a look at a new movie through the lens of what other movies we think were either an influence or connect in some other way. It's a fun, unique way to discuss films that leads to a great list of other movies to check out that either explore the same themes and ideas or maybe utilize similar filmmaking techniques. Including special episodes in our side series that twist the format, we've done over 200 episodes, so there's bound to be one on a film you've been thinking about and want to dig deeper into. So check us out on all the major podcasting apps and at piecingpod.com.
And maybe that is her storyline. It's just like the grief of a mother. I mean, maybe that's really what her storyline is, at least up until this point, because she did a fabulous job showing that grief and
Yeah, she did.
all of that. So, we'll see more about Dell, I hope. I mean, I know there's the infamous scene that we still haven't seen yet, I don't think, the in the pond scene that they teased, didn't they?
Oh, uh-huh.
So, I mean, something's coming for her. Yeah, we'll see. Um, then there's Alice. Alice. And so, what's interesting about season two is that this is the season of Kat, whereas I feel like season one was more the season of Alice. It was
I
almost like
agree.
Alice was the one that was time traveling. She was learning about her mom from a different perspective and about Elliott. She was having her little 1999 romances. But she was the primary time traveler. And then this season, she doesn't time travel as often. She still does, but she's more in the present, which I think is good for her because she really struggled last season with moving to a new area and living in the past, literally living in the past.
Literally.
Literally, yeah. And so this season, she's more in tune with the current. It's like she's accepted everything. She's
Yeah,
living in Port Haven. She's enjoying life as a
as
teenager.
a teenager, yeah.
Um, and so I like seeing that growth in Alice on this season. I also appreciate seeing her support of her mom and that dynamic. And she's got a little male friend there. So
Yeah, she finally got a new older guy.
yes,
New older guy.
older guy.
Older. Nothing compared to Nick, but apparently she just likes older guys. I mean, I don't
You
know.
mean, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
but
I like Noah. I like him.
mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
it's good.
I like Noah too, and I like how they are kind of in cahoots together with the scoop, like the snooping
Hmm.
at the Herald, and I love the Backstreet Boys sing along.
Yes, me too. I love the Backstreet Boys. I was so excited of how much of the song that they sang. I'm like, oh, they're gonna sing like 10 seconds and they're gonna stop. And
Yeah,
they just kept going. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I
yeah,
loved it.
it's so good, so fun, and I hope we see more of Noah and Allie and all of that.
Yeah.
It'll be great. But we gotta talk about Nick.
I was like, why? Why? I was like, can we just close this? But at least it was better. I didn't like when she went to the past and then that got
Mm.
all rough, stirred up. I was like, don't do that. But this, I was okay, even though it seemed like for Nick, maybe something got stirred up at the end, on his side when he heard her singing. But
Nick is confused. Nick is like, do I need to take some meds? Am I crazy? Do I need to commit myself to the psych ward?
like I'm like Nick, I know it's been like 25 years, but it's literally the same person with straight hair. Like, is this that difficult? But no one's thinking someone's a time traveler. So, okay, you get a pass. But I'm like, she's
Right,
literally the same person.
right.
She's
But
not
also,
kind of the same. She's not her daughter. She's the same.
right, right. But I mean, if you think about it, if he doesn't have a picture of her, he's not gonna like,
That's true.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you remember things because you have a picture of them.
Yeah,
Do
that's
you
true.
actually remember them? Like, my grandma passed away when I was 6. If I think about it, like, I can't really remember what she looks like unless I have a photo because I was so young, you know? And so
That's true.
I
Yeah.
think that,
But he will be if he because he's probably gonna I feel like they're gonna have him move or something.
uh-huh.
And so if when he's moving, if there's like some photo that she's in, she's gonna be found out
Oh, 100%. He's going
immediately.
to flip his lid.
He's gonna be like, so I was in love with Kat's daughter who was 16 and is 16. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm terrified. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be terrified myself. I mean, and I get it. I get why Alice talked to Nick for so long on the boat. And she's like complaining about like all her boy issues because in her mind there's like a natural ease there. She knows him, but she can't let on that she knows him.
Yeah.
And of course she wants to talk to him because it's Nick of the past in 40-year-old self body, But
Yeah.
I was kind of like, oh my gosh, Alice, stop talking now. Stop talking now. Go
I
talk to
know.
someone else. Like, no. You can't let him know because that would be so cringy.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna feel so cringy. He's
Yeah.
just gonna feel so gross himself. But I mean, I mean, yeah, it was back then when they were like the same, age. But yeah, he's gonna find out now. He's gonna just, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like Alice needs to like set him up, kind of do him a favor, find him a new fiance and set him up with somebody and call it a day, and then Alice will have served her purpose in Nick's life. But yeah, um, yeah, I do love Nick and his storyline there. I mean, he's just such a great ad, I think. And I
Hmm.
think he'd be a really good voice of reason to Elliot too, especially
That's
as
true.
things start divulging itself and as Nick possibly finds out more. So,
Hmm.
um, if he stays in Port Haven, I mean, I'm all for that.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have like I said, Elliot, doing something else like with just like having a guy friend and then being able to like bond together. Like I feel
Yeah.
like that would definitely add something. And just because I like Carrie James the actor and I just like Nick. So
Hmm.
yeah, he
Yeah.
moves to town. I won't be, yeah, I think that could be good.
Yeah. It'll give Elliot something to do.
Something else to do.
Oh, poor Elliot. Poor El. Speaking of poor Elliot, Augustine, sir. Um, you know, I I wish we could see him more in the classroom. Now I know it's summer, I think, right?
Yeah.
Summer break, but
Oh, yeah.
I
Hmm.
I want to see him more in class.
I actually agree. I think that would be good to see him like in his element, like doing his thing.
Yeah,
I think that would be good.
yeah, especially with Alice being a student of his. Like I'm almost picturing it's almost like Mr. Feeney
Yeah.
with Boy Meets World, and where he has a lot of students and he's like the wise sage person, and he'll say something and you're like, oh yeah, you're speaking to me. So I would love to see Elliot more in the classroom because give him more of a purpose, right? Like it'll give him something to do. It'll give him more of a purpose and a storyline. Because right now it feels like this whole season he's just been sitting there observing and
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
That's how I feel. And that's why it's so hard to like him because I feel like he's not really doing anything. He doesn't have a purpose. And then when we see him, he's just upset all the time. And so it's just like it's not painting him in a good light.
mhm,
So yeah, I wish they would show him, doing some other things.
mhm. Yeah. I do think that the Port Haven, what was it, the festival thing where he gave the speech, I think that was his turning point in this season, though, because the last couple episodes he wasn't so angsty. He
Hmm.
was, he told Kat, he chased after Kat, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's gonna tell her not to go on the bond, and he's gonna tell
I
her,
know, me too. I was like, oh, here we go.
but he didn't.
Yeah,
He
you know.
he said, she has to do this. She's so close, and he encouraged her to go. And I mean, now the bro was right about the medicine not going with her.
Yes, that did not work. He was like, okay, well, yep, there it goes. Yeah, I did go.
Um, Now there is a storyline that we're gonna get next episode about Lingamore.
I'm so scared. I'm like, really, I really, really, really want to know, but I'm also kind of scared. I'm like, what could be this so bad? Like,
Right, because in this last episode, everybody was ignoring it. Monica was ignoring it. Kat, that Ellie, everybody was just like, we don't talk about the summer of 2007.
it's like even the town didn't print about it. I mean, it's just so weird.
Yeah, it was like a cover-up story,
Yeah.
which is super odd. The other thing too is 2007. So Alice goes back to 1999. Kat and all the buddies are like 17, right?
Hmm.
2000, it's Y2K, we see that. 2001. So we assume that Kat Elliott graduated about 2001, right? Ish. Is that the timeline? So
Yeah, I think so.
they would have been 18 in 2001 ish. Let's say yeah, 2001-ish. So um so 2007 is 6 years later. So if they were 18 in 2001, they would be 24 in 2007.
And I think because Noah said he was one. So that means Alice is like about to be conceived, I guess. Because I mean, I think I don't know, what grade is she in? 11th grade or
Yeah,
10th?
I think she was 16, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so
He's either still 18 or about to turn 19. So I feel
mhm,
like she's gonna be born soon-ish, or at least I guess not
right.
born, conceived soon-ish
Yeah,
to 2007.
right.
I'm not sure, but
Yeah, within the next couple of years. Because well, if it's two, yeah, because math is hard.
I know.
And they alluded to the fact that it was 2024, so minus 2007, 17. 17 years between 2007 and 2024.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, so if Noah's 18, that makes him one in 2007.
Mhm.
And then Alice, if she's 16, about to be 17, yeah, she would be conceived in the next year. So,
Yeah. I was just like, I don't know. I feel like he had to mention that for some reason. So I just made sure to be like, okay, but that means Alice is going to be born soon. Does it have anything to do with, I don't know, whatever happened? But I doubt it. But I don't know. It just seemed weird that he mentioned it. So I just,
mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. But we also see that there's blood in Elliott's glasses, and then everyone's like, did he kill somebody by accident or take someone out by accident? And the other thing too is it's Elliott.
Well, it's Elliot, and it's like, what could he do that's so bad that Alice is gonna not talk to him? But Dell's been talking to him, and Kat talked to him. So I'm like, what's so bad? I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm so dying. I just really want to know.
No. I'm so confused. So confused by it. Um, and then the comment that Al or not Alice, that Kat made to Elliot a few episodes ago when she's like, is she gonna find out or something like that? And he's like, yes. And she's like, oh, like it was just so weird.
Yeah, it is. It is weird. I, I don't
Mhm. Yeah.
know.
Did you see the screenshot of the diary page?
I I like went back, kept trying to like pause it on my computer. I was watching my laptop and I finally did. And then I was like trying to read it. And I'm just like, oh, can you just show some more of what it says?
Right.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine, she's a postable, Amanda, she has a good screen grab on it.
Oh, okay.
Her Twitter handle is Mandolin3183. But it's October 28, 2007. This is Elliot's journal, and it's all caps. How can I face Alice again if she ever comes back? Question mark, exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark. And then you see the first like couple of lines here, and it says, I don't even know how to write this. I don't even know what to say, except it's all my fault. And I just keep asking myself, hold on. Oh, I just keep asking myself over and over again, what have I done? Well, here, and then you can't see any more of the line. And then you see the next line, it says, so I'm guessing it says, here's what I've done. I broke the blank. Can't see any.
Oh, I couldn't see that far. I
Yeah.
broke the blank.
I broke the, and then it cuts off because you can only see like the top four lines, but it's at an angle.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you guys have any ideas, tweet at us.
Yeah, tell us what you guys think Elliot did because we're all for some theories here. So
Yeah, and I'm out of theories at this point. I have no idea. No idea what he could have done.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Merch Store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Well, I think that basically wraps up Elliot. Are we missing any other characters or any other storylines that we need to talk about before we wrap it up?
Oh, I did think it was interesting. So, well, first of all, it's totally unbelievable that the key was in the exact same spot that Cap left it on top of dirt. I'm sorry, you guys. That was the most unbelievable thing I've seen on TV in a long time. Like, that's crazy.
I mean,
200 years?
right.
How many times has it rained? How many, like, what?
Erosion. I mean,
I'm like, I thought he was gonna have to like dig or something. It's like literally on top of a dirt with a leaf on it. I'm like, okay, you guys. Anyway, she could take the key back, I guess, because it belonged back there, but she couldn't take the medicine back, I guess, because it didn't belong in that time. But she was
Mm,
able to take the key back. I mean, it's not like, it was an extra thing. It wasn't her coat or,
right.
her clothes. So I don't know, it's just kind of interesting. Which I guess makes sense. It can go back to its time because that's where it's from, but the
Right.
medicine is not from there, so it rejected.
Yes,
It
yeah.
rejected the antibiotics. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
That is
I
interesting.
want to know what you think about all of our Thomas and Kat lingering eyes and all these little moments and picking up and
Yes.
hiding and all this face touching.
Well, I will say I would be remiss to not mention that Rachel is all for this. Let me just find, oh, here, in her words, tell them how much I love Thomas. There you have it. Um, yeah, I am intrigued. I'm intrigued by this. I'm not mad about it. I definitely see the chemistry there, and I think it'll make for an interesting storyline because they're from two different time periods.
hmm It could definitely give her like totally different, but could give her some empathy for her daughter because
Hmm.
her daughter had to leave somebody in the past who, was like a teenage,
Hmm.
love for her. So I thought that could be, maybe they could bond over it
Yeah,
later,
totally.
but they could understand each other in that way.
Yeah.
So I did that cross my mind. But yeah, I'm just intrigued on, yeah, what's gonna happen between them, and is he
Yeah.
really bad and he's just not saying, just has more bad things that we just don't know yet, which probably does. At least there's stuff we don't know. Maybe
Right,
he's
right.
super bad, but yeah. I
Yeah.
guess,
It
yeah, built
I
chemistry very quickly.
they definitely built chemistry very, very quickly. And I'm here for it. I'm here to see where what some people are calling Tomcat. I am interested to see where that goes because again, it'll be a complicated relationship for them. I
Yeah.
mean, already the time period is a barrier. She can't
hmm
live into 1814. She's got her family back home, her daughter, which he reminded her of too. He's
hmm
have somebody back home who is
Yeah.
basically, and she's like, oh crap, I got a daughter. Because she can get very tunnel visiony. Cat can. She's
Yeah.
so hyper focused on getting Jacob back and that she forgets about every other relationship.
Mhm.
Elliot, even Alice, Dell, but I think that it'll be interesting too because I think Thomas will give her some perspective as well. And I think that their relationship will help her with her relationships in the future with her mom, her daughter, with Elliot, even maybe down the road. But I think that's I think that's their purpose will be together. Because
Mm.
I mean, unless see, the pond has weird rules because I could say, well, Alice or Kat can take Alice and Dell back with her and they could just live in 1814, I guess. But the pond may not let them go back to 1814, same as the pond may not let Thomas travel to 2024. And so she's gonna have to figure out what she wants, and obviously she's gonna choose her daughter. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Hallmark will prove me wrong here, but I couldn't leave my kids behind.
Oh
Like,
yeah, no, she can't. Yeah, she
we
can't do that.
couldn't do that. So, but I mean, while they can still have a relationship, I do think it will be interesting. I also have predictions too that down the road we're gonna fall in love with Thomas and Kat and they're gonna kill him off, or he's gonna die of diphtheria or something because um we're gonna have you have to cut you like because it's gonna be in pod unless again the pod has its rules, but you're gonna have to cut that relationship off somehow, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
especially like as a viewer, like that's just what's gonna have to happen is we're gonna have this really sad moment. So I'm kind of bracing
Because yeah,
myself.
this is yeah different than like basically any other time travel show. You
Mhm.
could take somebody with you because it wasn't like only people in your bloodline could do it, you know? So it's kind of very different in that way. At least if that's what it is, that's just what all that we know now is only Landry blooded, people can time travel in this pond.
Mhm.
So that makes it, yeah, really different than any other time travel thing I've seen was never so
Yeah.
specific. So
Yeah. So yeah, it'll just make it more complicated. And I think that's good because it'll make it a deeper story. Which is sometimes feelings that I have about other Hallmark shows is that the storylines don't go deep. They don't go there.
mm,
We don't get this like conflict in our hearts. Like I have this conflict in my heart about Thomas and Catherine because
yeah.
while I like seeing their chemistry and all of that, I'm like realizing there are some things, there's a box that we have to stay in within the pond. And so if these things can't happen, and Kat's made with has to have a decision between her daughter and Thomas, that's there are lots of things there. And so I just think it can make for really interesting stories and deeper stories. I mean, even with her and Jacob, that's complex already. I mean, she's gonna have to tell him dad died while a year after you disappear. I mean, like that's feelings and guilt,
Yeah,
maybe.
that's gonna be extreme. Yeah, that's gonna be really hard.
Yeah.
And
And so
she's gonna be upset, when he's upset, she's gonna be like, "You don't understand what we have been through. Our family has broken down. Dad died, Mama and I didn't talk for years. You were gone. We were heartbroken. We were just devastated. Like we just broke."
yeah,
And that's going to be hard because, he's going to be, feels like he was, you know, maybe abandoned or just, not looked for, but that's just not true. I mean,
right.
once she figured it out, she'd been trying this whole time to find him where he was.
Mhm.
But it's going to be really complex. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, at the same time, like Jacob can respond back to Catherine and be like, "Oh, it's so hard for you. I had to live without electricity for 20 years."
Yeah. You think it was easy for me to survive like wars and, teach myself how to do stuff and, how to get a job and grow up and, like find a place to be and live.
Mm,
Oh, geez, yes.
yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot.
Yes, for sure. Well, I'm going to read the synopsis for episode 8. So it's called Lose Yourself. And the storyline is the Landry women see how past events have shaped their family's present, while Alice's time traveling affects her relationship with Elliott. So we know from previews that she goes to 2007, oddly enough, right before she's conceived.
Sorry, I don't know why. I just thought that it was too weird to me. He mentioned that. I just thought it was weird.
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, they don't waste lines
I
for
was gonna say, I
nothing.
know they don't waste anything. That's why I was like,
Mhm. Yeah, so we will see. I mean, we know she goes to Lingamore. There is apparently, I'm looking at the cast list right now, and they have listed as masked party goer number 1 and number 2. So it must be some masquerade of some kind, masquerade
okay,
party.
okay.
Um, and then we do have Del, Cat, Elliot, Alice. Obviously Colton's gonna be there, Thomas Coyle, adult Jacob, Monica, teen Cat, Rita, Sam Bishop, teen Elliot, Susanna. So we're gonna be teen Brady is back next year,
Mm.
next season, next episode. What am I saying? Adult Nick is back. Um, and then we have yeah, we have Jacob, Teen Monica, Teen Nick. Yeah, so we've got the whole gang here and we've got the three timelines. So it will it'll be interesting to see what happens next week at the presumably
It,
masquerade party.
it will be so interesting. I might have to watch live because my interest is like,
Hmm.
I'm just like, what could he do that was so bad that Alice is just not gonna want to talk to him ever again?
Right, right. But everybody else still talks to
But
everybody else.
that's what I don't understand. I'm like, why is it just Alice is gonna be so upset about this? I don't know.
Yeah, because everybody else is covering for whatever he did,
Yeah,
which is mind-boggling. So
it is.
we'll see. We'll see.
We'll
Well,
see.
any last thoughts before we wrap it up here?
I don't think so. I am glad we still get to see Colton, so I think that's a good thing. So it's
Yes,
nice.
I just love Jefferson Brown. I think he's so fantastic. He's like, I didn't know it until When Hope Calls, but he's like one of my favorites. Like,
Yeah, he's really good.
he's
He's a great actor. I love the character of
Mhm.
Colton. I love his warmth and his kindness and
Yes.
just what he embodies as a dad.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, Jefferson does a great job
Mhm.
portraying him, and just I mean, in all the projects he does,
Mhm.
he's good.
He's awesome. So yeah, and I just have to say too, I mean, when they show adult Jacob versus young Jacob, I mean, whoever was the casting director for this show, they did amazing.
They really paired everyone like perfectly. Like you really couldn't do anyone any better. Like everyone
Right.
really seems like their younger self and their older self match
Mhm.
so well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so well.
Yeah.
Um, and you know what? The other thing that will be interesting to see next week is the fact that 2007, they're no longer teenagers, they're young adults, technically. They're gonna be in their 20s
Yeah.
because that's like a good 5 years after college, right?
Hmm.
Or after high school. And so
Yeah.
it will be interesting to see how the teen characters and the actors play their young adult counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
Because Teen Cat, when we first meet her, she's so bubbly and she's so just like, oh, like super smart and outgoing. We see a little bit of her sadness when we see her watching the 9/11 concert, I think it was in one of the episodes early on this season.
Yeah.
Um, and then we know adult Cat, and she's a bit more serious. She's way more serious than her teen self. So it'll be interesting to see the evolution of how they play their characters into becoming young adults.
That's
And, you know,
that's true because it's definitely different.
hmm
Um, it should be, portrayed differently because they're supposed to be 5 years older,
hmm
wiser, maybe, maybe not.
yeah,
A little bit more grown. Um, they should be, Brady and Kat should be married.
hmm
I would think so. I mean, he got engaged when they were what, like 18 or 19?
yeah, 19, I think
I
19
assume,
probably.
I don't know when they got married, but I assume that it's been in the last, 5 years.
Hmm
So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And Brady would be a fresh young lawyer because he
Yeah.
would go to college and then 3 years of well, I guess he would be in the middle of maybe law school. So we'll see. Lots of intrigue for this next episode.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about it. I feel like the last few have been a little slower leading up to 6 and 7. So
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, I'm excited. I'm super excited. But well, thanks for joining this discussion, Anne. It's always so great to chat with you.
Really fun. It's two good episodes to talk about. So
I know. I know. So good. Well, Ponders, homies, Hallmarkies, whatever you want to call yourselves. Make sure you follow the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and at Hallmarkies Podcast, wherever we have social media. We even have a TikTok. Go check it out. Go check out our merch store. That is on all the things are on our website, hallmarkiespodcast.com. And also don't forget to follow Anne. Where can the people find you?
You can find me Twitter and Instagram at awscott21.
And you can find me at Kaycee__Simpson on Instagram and on Twitter. And also, if you're a fan of Signed, Sealed, Delivered, you can find us at Deliver Me a Podcast, wherever we are on social media. So, at least on Instagram and on Twitter. So, make sure you follow us there and let us know your theories. Let us know your thoughts about these last 2 episodes and your predictions for next episode. What is Elliott hiding? That's the big question. But until then, we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.